You are watching the SIG podcast, Recruits Draftcast. Now, today, the SIG podcast has a bit of a different meaning, more literally, because both Grant and I are feeling under the weather. You might be able to pick it up with our voices. We had some tough nights, but guess what? We persevere, we go through, and we could not miss the opportunity to chat with Willie Desjardins. We're going to get him on in just a moment. We're also going to be touching on our Habs prospect of the week, and Riser of the Week. So without further ado, let's get started.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to the SIG Podcast. Recruits Draftcast.
And with the first overall selection in the 2023 NHL Draft, the Chicago Blackhawks are very proud to select from the Regina Pats, the Western Hockey League, Connor Bedard.
The sickest NHL draft and scouting podcast. It's gonna be sick.
As always, I am your host, producer Shayne, joined by the magnificent Grant McCagg. Now, Grant, the last few days for us have been a bit of a challenge. We didn't even know if we were going to be able to get on screen today. So how are you feeling?
I think I'm on the rebound finally. It took about 10 days. I made a trip to Montreal and sick ever since. So I don't know if that's a sign of something to stay away from, Mont Royal or not. But yeah, I'm finally on the rebound. But I'm glad to hear that you could. It was nip and tuck whether you could do this. So glad you gutted it out and you're here.
That's it. I had a long night's sleep, and you know what? I couldn't miss this. I'm really, really excited. I was happy when you sent us an email saying you got Willie Desjardins as a guest. So without further ado, let's not waste any more time. The head coach and GM of the Medicine Hat Tigers, we bring in Willie Desjardins. Willie, thank you for taking the time to chat with us. How are you today? Hopefully better than us.
No, I'm good, guys. No, thanks for having me on.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's I don't know if you're a CCR fan, Willie, but I'm reminded of Willie and the Poor Boys with the way we're feeling right now.
Oh, you guys are looking pretty good.
Thank you. So Medicine Hat Tigers are first currently in the Eastern Conference of the WHL with a record of 11-5-2. I'm praising the team right now. Okay, you guys are off to a hot start, obviously led by two draft eligible players in Caden Lindstrom and Andrew Basha, but also, we're going to be talking about him, of course, Gavin McKenna, who is Connor Bedard's cousin. There's already talk about him being, the first overall pick in 2026. He is still only 15, right? Turning 16 in December. So Grant, where do you want to start with this?
Well, you heard that little clip there at the start, with the first overall pick, the Chicago Blackhawks picked Connor Bedard. Did they make the right choice, Willie, or what?
I don't know all the other guys. Bedard's a heck of a person, not just a really good hockey player. He's sure focused on being a player, so he's going to keep developing. It was pretty incredible what he did at World Juniors, though. That was a pretty special performance.
Oh my God.
Speaking of World Juniors, there's the under-17 World Junior Challenge is going on right now, and I believe we've got a clip of your hotshot Gavin McKenna scored a nice goal, a pretty important goal yesterday, and the U.S. is the big rival, right?
Yeah.
Did you see this?
I did. That was a heck of a shot, eh?
Yeah.
You could see the water bottle jump. So, yeah, he's pretty special. It's a tough tournament. Every team's so good. Internationally now, you just don't realize how good everybody is, and those moments are pretty special moments.
He's 15 still, right, at this point, playing in the U17.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. He came into he played some games with us last year at 14, because he's a late birthday, so start of the year he's 14. And then it was late in the year. We were on a pretty good playoff run. Our conference was pretty tough. We had 5 games left, and I brought him in, and I didn't know if he could really help us. I thought he might be able to help us on the second power play unit. I was thinking he might, because he's young. is different when you get to the end of the year than the start of the year. And he led our team in scoring from when we brought him into the end of the year. So it's pretty amazing. Like really, it's amazing. So he's a pretty special athlete.
So is there a limit on the amount of games that he could have played last year?
Well, there was 10, but then if guys are away at like the U17s, you can replace them with somebody. So he came in and played games then. And then you can also, once the season's finished for that team, then he can come and play with you. So once his season finished, then we were able to call him up and he can come with us full time after that.
Well, I was doing a little researching, and your top pick in the 2023 Bantam draft, Liam Ruck.
Yeah.
He's got 10 goals in 4 games in U18 prep. He's leading the nation in goals and points. He's got 17 points in 4 games, and he's playing against 17-year-olds, and he's 15. So you got another one on the way, don't you?
Yeah, it's funny because he's got a twin brother. Eh? There's the 2 Rucks that play together.
Yeah,
they're both unbelievable, and they're even better when they're together than apart. They're a little bit like the Sedins that way. Eh? Like they're pretty special together. So we'll see where it goes. They're still a long ways away, but they put up some good numbers so far.
But I would suspect he's going to get some games with you this year too.
Yeah, we're hoping he will. It's always tough because they got their own schedule they're going through. It was interesting. It was a bit easier for Gavin because he played close to us, so we were able to get him in. The Rucks are out in BC, so it's a little harder to get him in when we need him.
But he could have played, I guess, while Gavin was away at the U17.
Yeah, we wanted him, but they just had their challenge, so he just missed being with his team, and his team really needed him. We wanted him to come in, but his team really needed him, so we'll stay there. And
4 points a game, yeah, they needed him there.
Yeah, he said okay.
And what's his height and weight right now? Just curious.
He wouldn't be. He'd be 5'10", maybe 100. Maybe 150 pounds, 160 pounds. He's not big, but big enough frame that he'll turn into a pretty good player for sure.
How tall is the old man?
Not. He'd be about. So yeah, I don't know if he'd be 6. He'd be 5'11", maybe.
So hopefully, we got another.
My scout says the size comes from the mom, so that's what my scout tells me.
So.
I don't know. So I don't know how much he's got left to grow.
Yeah. Well, I imagine he gets to come to training camp. He was at camp, had a good camp. They're really good family, like really grounded. They don't ask for anything. They're really grounded family. So they've been really good for us. McKenna, is the hype justified on this kid or what?
It's always so hard when you're that young. Like you're so far away from playing. But I said last year, what he came in and did with us last year, I didn't think was possible. I didn't think he could. I thought he could help us maybe a little bit. I never thought he could do that well. He's 16 this year, and he's 15 right now, and he's leading our team in scoring before he left. So obviously he's pretty special because and you're going to talk about our guys. We have some other high-end guys.
Yeah.
Those guys aren't high-end, but he was leading the team in scoring when he left.
That's it. Yeah, 20 points in 20 points in 14 games at not even 16 yet. When I was his age, I was learning algebra. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
That's absurd. It's I think the hype on the ice is definitely warranted, but I'm curious to know a little bit more off the ice. How is he handling that hype, that pressure around him?
It's interesting. Some guys just, it doesn't seem, I don't know if they've grown up with it because they've been so good their whole life that it's just the way it is, and how much attention he's got. But it doesn't seem to be a factor to him. And that's what was impressive about Bedard is how great he played in the big situations. And so you always wait to see how guys are going to do. But he doesn't seem to be bothered, and he has lots of confidence in his ability.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive.
Well, I mean, we'd be remiss not to talk about Caden. I mean, that's, this is a draft show, and he's just, I mean, I don't know if you saw the playoff, the medal round games of the Hlinka tournament or not, but I thought that Caden really stepped up big, and he was on that third line. And just they really drove the play, and I thought he was excellent at that tournament. And did you get to see?
I watched it. It was interesting because he played U17s, and he was a real late guy to get picked on that team at U17 level before, like really late. And the U18s too, like where he was on the lineup, like he wasn't that high.
No.
He didn't come in as a top guy that people were expecting that. He's on such a trajectory right now. It's unbelievable how much he's growing. That tournament really helped his confidence. Like he felt good coming out of it, I think. But he's just grown so much. It's incredible how quickly he's developed.
Are you? I mean, I've got him top 5 now. I just a 6'4" center with, I think, 30 to 40 goal NHL potential, with his speed, with his physical, makeup. He can play a physical game. I don't know that he's going to be an elite playmaker, but I mean, just that alone. When you look back at in the past, NHL teams, 6'4" center that can skate and produce, that can be that projects to be a top 2 center if everything comes together. Are you? What's the buzz you're hearing from the NHL scouts?
Oh, there's quite a bit of attention. They certainly, like, he's caught people off guard a little bit, I think, but there's lots of attention on him. And the thing about him is he's a little bit mean. Like, he's not just a playmaking guy. Like, he's got another side to him too. And not like super good person and not cheap or anything like that. But he plays hard. So he can bring another element as well, to his game.
How would you say how is he as far as playmaking goes? Do you think that he's got good vision?
Yeah, it is. The thing that was funniest about him last year is he would make some unbelievably high-end plays. Like, I mean, like, just so high-end. And then he wouldn't make some other ones that, you'd think he could have made. But there was plays there, like, in him. And it was more confidence and things like that. Just, I don't know, whatever it was, but he certainly has the ability to make high-end plays, passes the puck hard. So it's come along, like things that, he didn't do last year, he's doing this year. And I'm like, and it does surprise me. Like, honestly, it surprises me how good he's been. So it just says his trajectory is the right way.
Well, I put him top 10 after the Hlinka, and I it was higher than other people, but I saw so much potential there, and he's, I mean, and he's, he's producing to go along with it now. So I would be surprised if he doesn't end up being a top 10 guy.
It was interesting because I think he came out of the guys. I don't think anybody had him first round, maybe going into the Hlinka. Maybe they did. I'm not sure. Maybe late first round. After the Hlinka, everybody's talking top 15, that, hey, this guy's got a chance to be top 15. And, when we were out on the road, like, everybody all of a sudden, his stock's just going up because they're looking at this guy and going, hold. And he can play against the other team's 19 and 20-year-olds, like their big centerman. Like, it's not an issue for him at all. It's not an issue. So he's a big guy, and he's really physically developed, and he's powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Basha, another guy that I don't think was on the radar as a first round possibility going into the year, even though he did put up good numbers last year, just because he's not, everyone likes the 6'1" plus guy, but I mean, he just he just makes plays. He's always making plays. And what is your thought? Do you think at the end of the day that he's going to be a first round guy too?
He's interesting too because he really was like he had a really good summer training. Both him and Lindstrom had great summers. So they come back different players than they were last year. So you won't really know on him, I don't think, until after Christmas where he's going to go. He's quick though. He's really quick. Like he'll sometimes jumping in holes and doing things like he's pretty smooth. Like even today, he made a play in practice. I go, oh, like he went by D-man, he just poked it through the triangle and he was gone. He's got another part of his game. But when you talk first round players, you're talking to such an elite group. Like you're talking about guys all over the world, and that's a pretty elite group. So, but he's been impressive, like really impressive.
Yeah. No, it's I don't know if you were expecting to be as good as you were this year, considering that these guys are like your top guys are so young, leading scorers. But I mean that you could the next 3 years you could contend. Like you can be a contender for the next 3 years, can't you?
Well, we could, but those guys might be too good.
Yeah.
It's a problem. They're pretty good hockey players, and but if they're around for a while, we would have a really strong group.
Well, I don't think the NHL will give McKenna exceptional status there.
No, and he's
got him 2 more years at least.
Yeah, and he's going to be outstanding. Like he's just going to be so good, and we do have some other really good players around him too. Like we got 3 or 4 guys that'll get looked at in the draft as well. So there's a really good core group around him moving forward.
Yeah. I mean, WHL has a Memorial Cup in 2006, right?
Yeah, a couple of years, yeah.
I mean, if Lindstrom's, if he doesn't make the NHL at 19, if Basha, I mean, unfortunately, he's a late birthday, so the odds are. But I mean, if you guys get, do you know if Medicine Hat's considering putting in a bid?
Oh, I don't know if they will or not. I know there's talk out here of that. But that's the problem. There's so many ifs when you start doing that. Like, and you look ahead, and it all depends. Who drafts players, what they need at the time, what they think is the best for their development. So there's so many unknowns, but I think the good thing though for us is we have a good group. So when players are here, they're going to develop. Like it really helps having lots of good players around you because they push you to get better. Like if you're real good and there's no one around to push you, it's easy to kind of stay where you're at. But we have a group that's going to keep pushing each other, which I think we're really lucky to have. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you're going to have Ruck and McKenna for sure for 2 more years.
Yeah.
So you're going to have a good team in 2 years. Now, when
we have some good guys out of the U.S. kids too. I don't know if they come our way or not, but there's some really good players that if our team's doing well and they think it's a right fit, they could be good for us as well. And really good players like Carroll's out of the States. He's a good player. Davidson, like those guys are all really quality players. And do we get them? I don't have any idea if we get them or not, but there's just a good group that we have to attract from.
Sounds like the GM of Medicine Hat's pretty sharp fella.
Probably that scout, I guess. Yeah, Bobby Fox does do a good job for us. So it's really good to get there. Yeah. So.
Well, I mean, when do you bid? When do you put in bids for 2006? Do you know?
Oh, I think they're probably going in now. I think you probably have another 3 months or so to get stuff in. But Medicine Hat has such a great history. The Mazers have done such a great job here, and you look at our walls, all the people that have been there and come and gone through. It's a pretty special place. It'd be kind of neat if that happened, but there's going to be other teams bidding too. There'll be lots of teams bidding on it.
Yeah.
So,
well, looks like we lost Shayne. I guess he's sick again.
Had enough of us, sick of us, maybe.
That's a sick podcast for you. I won't take too much more of your time, obviously, but Do you mind if I ask you about a few other draft eligible guys that?
Well, yeah, you can. I don't know how much I'll know. I don't.
Okay.
I'm pretty good on our team. I'm not so good with other guys.
Well, I noticed you were talking about being Caden having that physical side to him, and I noticed early on he had a little bit of a brush up with Yakimchuk.
Yeah.
He's. I mean, there were maybe some concerns with his skating going into the year a bit. That was what he probably had to work on, but he's pretty dominant defenseman out there for his age group, isn't he?
He is, and he's another guy that's kind of come out of nowhere. That wasn't, 2 years ago you didn't talk about him an awful lot. So it's the same. I like to see guys that are moving, are really climbing. Like guys that are plateaued, that's one thing, but these guys aren't. And he's a guy too that's really getting better every game. Like he's more of a factor every game. So yeah, he'll be a good pick as well. Yeah.
Now you played. Have you played against? You played against Prince George, right?
Yeah.
That Parasak kid is just he's been lighting it up. I mean, you talk about a kid coming out of nowhere. He's a player.
Like it's interesting because I watched him last year play U18s, and he was good. He was always a factor. Like he was good, but he wasn't a guy that you would ever think would do that. You thought, well, he'll play in the league, maybe a top 3 line guy, but he also is playing with some really good hockey players too. And that's not taking anything away from him. Like you don't put up the numbers he's putting up without being a really good player. And he does have a nose for the net. Like he can attack for sure.
I've been really impressed by Becker this year. Do you think that maybe as an 04 that you don't see many get drafted, but do you think there's a possibility that a team's look at him?
It's hard to tell with teams, but I always think some guys develop a little later. And I always think you should, if they're moving that way and getting better, why not go with them? There's some really quality guys in our league. Like, they're the guys that turn out late to be players. And, they're pretty good. Like we had Dorsett here that was a guy that went, he didn't get drafted 17. 17 Dorsett wasn't even playing. He just finally made AAA midget at 17. Like he didn't make it at 16.
Yeah.
And didn't come into our league till he was 18. So got drafted at 19. So anyways, there's guys for sure that develop late. And I think teams are, are smart when they can get one of those picks.
And last year, this kid in Kelowna, Carson Golder.
Yeah.
Just like when he got traded or whatever, just like the trajectory, he was one of the best players in the league. And you just, you hope that, like you say, it's a different development curve for every kid, right? You don't always know.
No, somewhere a little later.
Yeah. Jerome's a young lad there playing. He's looking good, eh? Now that he's getting a full opportunity on Kelowna.
Yeah, for sure. Like we saw him, we only see him once, so I didn't get a good look at him, but his numbers are unbelievable. Certainly has a nose for the net. Like Jerome is one of my favorite players. Like he played so hard. He did so many great things. And both his sons are good players. He's got a younger brother too that's a really good player. So they'll both be successful for sure the way they play.
Yeah, for sure. I guess you haven't played against Catton this year, but he's pretty highly regarded for this draft class. You've seen him.
Yeah, I saw him at the Helenka too. He was there. Like there's a pretty good group out of that all kind of played out in that CSSHL for a while. But he's a good player. Certainly all around skill and everything. He's elite.
Yeah.
So he's an elite player for sure.
The crossover scouts, like a lot of scouts, NHL scouts live in the eastern part of Canada and eastern United States. A lot of them aren't getting over because there's a lot of, a lot of them are in Europe right now. There's, a U20 going on, U17, U18 tournament coming up. Then there's the World Junior Challenge. Then there's the World Juniors. A lot of them aren't going to get to out west for the first time till January. Your rinks are going to be packed. With
They are, but it's so nice. But that's one of the best things for the rest of the team, because it doesn't matter who they come in to see. You have a chance every night to show who you are and what you can do. So it's really great for the rest of our guys. But there's lots of nights like we'll have 50 or so scouts at a game when we come in, because we got 2 guys this year, so that makes a difference.
Yeah,
and we have more than that. We have other guys too that they're watching, but we have 2 guys that are maybe potential first round guys that they're looking at for sure. Yeah,
it's that's right. Like the scouts get in to look at certain guys, and then other, it gives the other guys a chance to be seen as well. Colton Roberts is a guy that I was a little surprised he wasn't at the Holenka. Not sure what that, why exactly, but I've been fairly impressed with him. I know you played against Vancouver. You have any thoughts on him?
Yeah, one game's hard. We had a pretty good game out there that night, so you can't really judge off that. But the numbers don't lie. Like guys put up pretty good numbers. They're pretty good players. Like it just doesn't happen by itself. So pretty good player, sure. So. And
Josephson's a good all around player, right?
Yeah, he's built like a pro. He's a pro.
Yeah.
So he's pretty good.
Really.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, in the CHL this year, it's the WHL is has got the cream of the crop. Like, I think there could be, anywhere up to 8 to 10 guys picked in the first round. So your old barn's going to be full of the guys in the black coats, could say, from January on.
Yeah, it's good to see, though. It's so good for young guys when they get a chance to show what they can do, because they all want it. Like, they all want it. And it's just kind of neat that they have the opportunity. So, because if you don't get looked at, it's hard for a scout to go to bat for you to bring to camp, even like guys that don't get picked, like your older guys. But if they're in watching, then they have a pretty good handle on you, and they can vouch for you if somebody's asking, well, should we bring this guy to camp? And it's like, yeah, this guy would be a good invite. So it helps everybody.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Thanks for showing up
okay.
at the end there, Shayne.
That's it. Sorry about that.
I know I said I'd only keep you about 15 minutes, but the more digging I was doing, I said, holy geez, you've got a promising group of players. You're going to have scouts in your building steady over the next 3 years. So it must be an exciting time for you. And I wish you all the best over the next 2 or 3 years.
Okay, guys. Thanks. Get better.
Thank you, Willie.
Okay. Sounds good. See you guys. Have a good one.
Thanks.
Bye-bye. All right. Willie Desjardins, head coach and GM of the Medicine Hat Tigers. All the technical issues are fixed now. We're good to go, Grant. There's no need to worry. But that was really, really good stuff from Willie there. Obviously, lots of interesting players on his team right now and coming, as you mentioned, right? So I think that's a team that people should really keep an eye on for this year and many, many years. All right, so let's do it. Habs prospect of the week. I think everybody who's been following Habs prospect can pretty much guess who this is going to be. Lane Hutson. Let's look at some footage.
Honorable mention goes to Philip Massar, obviously coming back to the OHL and
very
having
nice.
I mean, how many college defensemen get hat tricks in a game, right? And that's what Lane did. So, and against North Dakota, right? The third-ranked team in college, and he gets all 3 of his team's goals, which is that was overtime where he kind of him and Tuck actually sort of got beat on that, but so it wasn't completely great, but he, I mean, it's just amazing what he's able to do at the college level. He has, I think you can take that off there, guys. He has 6 goals in 7 games, right? And I was looking at it. He's on pace. Now, I mean, he only misses maybe 2 games at the World Juniors because they take a break in college too at Christmas time from December on. Last year he played 39 games. He missed a couple with injury this year. So I was looking at the schedule, and he's probably going to play around 35 games, depending on how far they go in the Frozen Four. But he's averaging 0.86 goals per game. And at that pace, he might score 30 goals. Now, I started looking back at, geez, I don't think too many college defensemen have scored 30 goals, right? So I start looking. In the last 20 years, the top 2 defensemen were Justin Schultz scored 17 and Luke Hughes scored 17. I mean, Lane could break that by February. The way he's going. The all-time, I went back as far as 65, 66, and fella BC, Boston College, 66, 67, he scored 32 goals. Paul Hurley.
What?
Now, Rob Blake scored 23. I mean, that was back in the 80s. Tom Pricing, who played a bit for San Jose, he scored 23 in 03-04. So the last guy to score 20 goals on defense was 20 years ago, the Tom Pricing. The BU record is Chris O'Sullivan, who scored 23 in 1994-95. So I'm going to send him a text saying, in case you're wondering there, Lane, 23, Chris O'Sullivan, that's your mark. That's who you.
That's it.
That's who you have to beat there for the club record. So, I mean, at this point, I'd be surprised if he didn't score more than 17 goals, but we'll see. I mean, he'll slow down theoretically, but 4 goals against North Dakota on the weekend, 3rd-ranked team, defenseman. There's your prospect of the week again.
My goodness.
That's
it again is the key word here, because we've talked about him a bunch, and guess what? We're going to talk about him again. There's no doubt. Like, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but he is on a better trajectory than Adam Fox he is currently. Like,
oh yeah,
we're talking about an elite top 5 defenseman in the NHL. The Habs got this kid at 62. Are you kidding me? Highway robbery. And it's funny. It was Eric Engels who said it on the Sick podcast with Tony Marinaro. Go check it out if you haven't. I'm sure you have. He said that the best player that he thinks the best player from that draft, the Habs did draft, but they didn't draft him first overall. They drafted him 62nd. So it's insane. Like the possibility, the ceiling of this player is making every Habs fan salivate. I think every hockey fan is just excited to see more of him. To see such a dynamic defenseman, it's beautiful to see. I think everybody's loving it. Okay, riser of the week now, Anthony Romani. Talk to us about him.
Yeah, he's he's a guy that went undrafted last year. Now, it's an interesting story. He's number 15 here on North Bay, but he caught my eye last spring, and I had him in my top 120. I do a 120, and then I do honorable mentions. Mm-hmm. I might do more this year because I've already got 110 names. Wow. But he's got really good offensive skills, really good smarts, decent size. got stuck behind a lot of veterans last year in North Bay. North Bay had a pretty veteran forward group last year, and he didn't really get a lot of top six time. But it's funny. I talked all of my scouting friends. There's sometimes guys that you're watching and you're not really getting backing. And he was a kid who I'd send my rankings to all of my NHL scouting connections, and I'd ask him, which guys would you take out of here? I've got a couple more guys I want to add to the top 120. Who would you take out? And I think to a man, they said Romani. I think in part because they probably didn't see North Bay a heck of a lot, They didn't have a lot of draft eligible guys last year, and maybe didn't key on him because earlier he is a guy that came on as the year went along. And I called his coach. It was funny, and he said, "Yeah, I think he should be drafted, and I think you watch next year, he'll have a breakout. He'll break out." And sure as heck, that's what he's done. In his going back to last year, in his last 24 games, he has 17 goals and 18 assists, which basically is a pace over a season of 50 goals and 100 points. There's going to be a lot of kids that were drafted last year that aren't going to get 100 points in the OHL. So like Colby Barlow alone is, he's probably on pace for about 60 this year, and he went top 20 last year. This kid's outplaying him at this point. So, you have to, when you weigh him up against kids that were drafted last year that are in his age group, he's outplaying just about all of them. So it's funny. I mentioned asked a scout the other day, so who'd be a riser for you? And he said, Romani. Oh, guy that you said I should take off my list last year. I was stubborn though. I kept him. I put him in honorable mentions. So he did make recruits draft rankings last year as a fifth round guy. And this year it's not going to be an honorable mention. He's unless he goes stone cold the rest of the way. I've got him in my fourth round now, and if he keeps playing like he's playing, he'll rise the ranks up into the top 3 rounds.
There you go. Anthony Romani rising up the rankings, a name to keep an eye on. Now, prospect of the week belongs to Jet Luchenko. Great name, by the way. That's destined for stardom right there.
I asked Niello to play. We're boomers, right? I asked him, I called him up and said, "Did you have Band on the Run, the album?" He said, "Of course." I said, "Well, play the intro to Jet, the song Jet, because it would have been just great." And he said, "No, copyright issues with YouTube. You can't do it." So he's super skilled, this kid. Just number 7 there. He's playing center with Guelph. Look at that, sweet hands. He's got great vision and just excellent hands. He got 11 points in his last 6 games. Now that goes back more than a week, but typically, look at that one. That one was just amazing. The hands on him. He's got first round skill. Now he's undersized, so that'll hurt him on draft day. Now check this out. Vision. I love his vision. He's one of the elite playmakers in this draft class, and he's impressing scouts, and he's really impressing me. I'm reminded a little bit of Luke Evangelista a couple of years ago, undersized forward for London, who just kept slowly rising up the rankings as it went along. I mean, he could have swapped those 2 guys, one as a riser of the week and one as prospect of the week. Good, I mean, if you're the prospect of the week, you're probably a riser, right? And he's both. And it's the same with Romani, right? I mean, you could have had it one way or the other, but with Poitras making Boston, they had a top 2 center spot available, and he's grabbed the bull by the horns and is you want to see NHL skill in these kids, and he's got it definitely. So apparently he's pretty slight, like he's got weight to put on too, and that can be a good thing. If the scouts say, well, if he adds 15 pounds, he's only going to be that much better and that much quicker and stronger. And sometimes that can go to your benefit on draft day. So I have a feeling that he's going to end up moving into the top 2 rounds of a lot of scouts' rankings very soon. I mean, a month ago, I didn't have him. He wasn't anywhere near my rankings, my top 100 rankings. And now he's solidly right in the middle and just keeps climbing. So prospect of the week, rise of the week, whatever you want to call it, both those guys, impressed with both. And, I keep seeing more and more kids that I'm impressed with. So I've had scouts tell me that they don't think it's a deep draft. And having seen a lot of Europe, having watched the WHL a lot, I think these are Eastern scouts that haven't been out West and they're just getting out to Europe. And I think they're going to change their tune on that as it goes along. Cause I'm seeing a lot of kids that I like, and that includes undrafted kids. So I'm excited about this draft class.
There you go. I mean, when prospect of the week is projected to be in the second round, that's a good indication of how deep it is. Like when you have that kind of performance coming out of a second rounder, hello. Definitely something to keep an eye on. That'll about do it for this week. We thank obviously Willie Desjardins for taking the time to chat with us. Very insightful, very fun. Lots of good conversation there. I missed a bit of it, but I'll rewatch after we're done. As always, you got to check out recruits.ca, right? Grant's going to come up with rankings throughout the season. And then finally, when draft time comes, you want his whole list, because usually it's pretty damn close to being right, or he is right. So go check out recruits.ca. If you want Habs coverage, draft coverage, or Habs and draft coverage, the whole thing's there for dirt cheap. Go check it out. As always, we thank you for tuning in, for supporting, commenting, liking. It helps the algorithm. It helps us. And if you want to see something, right, if there's a topic you'd like us to talk about, leave it in the comments. We take a look at every comment. We will discuss, me and Grant, and we might just talk about it. So feel free to do that. And Grant, I hope you feel better for next week, because we're back again Wednesday. We never miss. We are so consistent. So thank you all for watching, and I will see you all next week.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast, Recruits Draftcast on YouTube, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.